Climate change activists target the city before they call time on their mass protest in central London.
There's people in these organisations, they have children, they live and breathe on this same earth that we do. It's in their interests to wake up, tell the truth about what's going on and act with integrity.
I'm at Marble Arch, which has become the unofficial headquarters for the protesters, where the clean-up's underway as they begin to bring their presence here to an end.
Welcome to BBC London News. Thanks for joining us. First tonight, they set their sights on the city today as climate change activists glued themselves to the London Stock Exchange and the investment bank Goldman Sachs. The DLR in Canary Wharf was also targeted. On the day, environmental campaigners are bringing their mass protest to an end and leaving their main camp in Marble Arch. More than 1,000 people have been arrested since the demo began. Here's Mark Ashdown.
We would rather not be taking this action.
7 a.m. on the Docklands Light Railway, the first protest on this final day of direct action. Phil Kingston, celebrating his 83rd birthday, summed up why they're here.
The more we take, the less there is for future generations, for the poorest peoples who are already got next to nothing.
Some also glued themselves to the carriage.
I'm a GP or just retired, so I can. I've got children who are grown up, so I can do this. So I'm doing it for everyone who can't.
Next stop, the London Stock Exchange. Today's message was aimed at big business and banking. Trading continued as normal, but elsewhere, London was ground to a halt once more. Outside Goldman Sachs, protesters glued together, blocking the road.
What brings me here? Many things. A desire to change, a passion to protect this world, this planet, and a desire to connect all the people on it and show that we have a collective responsibility to look after it.
A lot of people that are being affected by climate change that don't have the space, don't have the voice, don't have the right to protest, and so I think part of doing it for me is that we have that privilege and we should take it and we should use it.
Now, as these protests wind down, it brings to an end nearly 2 weeks of this kind of direct action. There have been more than 1,000 arrests. It's taken 10,000 police officers to manage it. And the debate will continue about how it's been handled and the impact it's had on London. What do you say to people who've been disrupted?
Yeah, I mean, it's not our intention to disrupt people. That's not the end game here. The end game is to raise the alarm about an emergency that is going to, if we don't do something, have a massive negative impact on everyone's lives. And I think in the main what we've seen is London is really opening their hearts to us.
They're entitled to make their point, aren't they? It's a bit of inconvenience, but then, it's a good cause, isn't it?
Especially that bus takes me home.
so
yeah.
You're stuck here then?
Stuck here, I've got to walk now, but it's what it is.
Things do need to change in relation to climate change, but I think there's better ways of trying to get a message across personally.
Various small protests continued this afternoon, as did the arrests. This wave of action is just about over. Organisers, though, say more could follow. Mark Ashdown, BBC London News.
Well, let's get the latest from Marble Arch and our Home Affairs correspondent, Catherine Carpenter, who's there and clearly still busy there tonight. Catherine.
Yes, absolutely. The protests have now moved from Marble Arch across the road into Hyde Park, and we're now in the Speaker's Corner area where the closing ceremony for this Extinction Rebellion has begun, and the speeches have started a short time ago, some of them very emotional indeed. People expected here to thank Londoners for bearing with these protests, and also to extend their thanks to the police for the way in which they've handled this 11 days of disruption. Now, I can speak to two of the protesters now. Claudia and Ella, they're both from the youth wing of Extinction Rebellion. Claudia, let's start with you. How successful do you feel this protest has been?
Well, I understand it's been the largest incidence of mass civil disobedience that the UK has ever seen. So in that way, I would say that it has been successful. I think we've galvanised the public. I think we've given the public space to air their grief and shown the way in which they can act in the face of something as gigantic as the climate crisis and ecological collapse.
Do you feel you've managed to carry the public with you? I mean, there has been a lot of disruption, many Londoners feeling that they haven't been able to go about their daily business as they'd like to, a lot of disruption to the police who've had Easter holidays and cancelled and had to do extra overtime. What do you say to them?
I'd say to them that in everything we do, we carry them with us. We have them in our thoughts. We're doing this for them as much as we're doing it for us. climate change will affect every single living being on this planet, so we do this with them in our hearts.
And Ella, you're from the youth wing. How important has been getting young people on board being to this protest?
It's been incredibly important. I think the youth are absolutely at the heart of this movement.
It's our futures.
Exactly. And I think it's been so empowering to see the youth take that into their hands and recognise that this is our future.
Will you be back? That's the question lots of Londoners want to ask, is are they going to see this kind of thing again?
Potentially. This is a decentralised movement, so any actions could happen at any time. I think there is a great sense that this is just the beginning. And we are going to step back, we are going to take all of the learnings that have happened over these past 11 days and we're going to move forward from there, just holding the fact that we are servicing all life in our hearts and we're doing this for everybody. And yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for both obviously feeling very passionate there. For now, though, that's it from Extinction Rebellion and from Hyde Park.